Hey, welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Chris Hearn out of Orlando. Joseph Coleman back from Florida. Well, you're welcome
Hey guys.
back, Joseph. Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, you look a little tan there. I like it.
Yeah, a week in the sun will do that. Yeah.
Chris, you're looking a little pale. I think time for you to go.
Yeah, well, all it's done is rain, and it's continuing to rain here for weeks. So,
hey, we got a ton of stats, a ton of news. Thank you all for joining us. The first big news of the day is SBA on Friday. So you know when they do the Friday dump, it's something you should pay attention to. Friday, SBA announced they are closing officially the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. They're going to keep it open for 2 more weeks. But what's the date, Joseph? July 14th. They're pulling they're going to turn off the computers.
Yeah, July 14th. They've announced that it'll be officially done. And there was a replenishment talk on the Hill, and that has stalled as well. So.
Well, that's been kicking around for the last month. Chris, do you have any inside information on that? It's $60 billion that they want to it's called the replenishment fund, and that's about what we're short. We're short $45 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much I don't know how much political will there is on Capitol Hill these days to put more money into stuff like this. It's a shame that they ran out of money, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, let's see. I mean, the numbers went. There are the numbers of the $28 billion that was accepted or approved. $18 billion went to underserved, and there were the lawsuits that crashed it. Average grant size was $283. That's interesting. I thought it'd be a little bit higher. Women-owned business, $7.5 billion, as I said. Social economics, $6.7, which left us with 176,000 applications that were unfunded in limbo for $44 billion. So those people can't be happy, Chris. I assume those are some of your borrowers.
Yeah. But again, I mean, sometimes these things take so long.
It took over a year.
Yeah. The economy's recovering. So, I mean, this is kind of a nice to have. I don't want to make light of somebody who hasn't gotten a grant, but I mean, the economy has snapped back clearly, and that's why you don't have as much political will to make some of these things happen.
That's a good observation. Hey, a great study out of what is it, Kansas City Fed, Joseph?
Correct. Yeah, Kansas City Fed released the Small Business Lending Survey published June 30th.
If you love stats, if you love minutia, please read this. It is attached. So let's have some poll questions off it. Number 1, small business C&I loan balances. And the Fed, there's different definitions as we know, but usually it's $1 million or less. They will say that's a small business. So their loan balances have increased how much the past year? I'm going to let Chris go first. Chris, what do you think?
I think it's in the 40-45% range probably.
Believe it or not, 62%.
Wow.
Well, again, it includes PPP.
Yeah, well, that's a big asterisk on these, right?
Yeah. So that's they're 62%. So I mean that's huge. What percentage of outstanding small business C&I loan balances are secured by SBA guarantee? I admit I got this one wrong. And this is the Federal Reserve of banks, independent in their banks in their area. All right, Chris, I already said I got it wrong. What do you think?
I would go with the majority here. I think it's about 30%. Although I see your little caveat at the bottom of the screen that I'm not supposed to vote.
No. That's
so if I get it wrong, I wasn't supposed to vote anyway.
45%. I would have been with you. I would have been around a third, maybe 30%. Interesting chart by the Fed. And Joseph, what do we got here?
Yeah, this is an incredible chart in my opinion. The SBA guarantees are up to 45%, and you can see for the last 3 years it was under 10%.
Right.
So the CNI, I mean, that's just the SBA guarantee was pivotal in the recovery. I think that's apparent, and it seems like the first and second round of PPP added to this, of course. So
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is the spike in the first quarter of 2020. I think that's reflective of PPP guarantees in place, going up a little bit more in the second quarter. The downturn, I think, is probably the first wave of forgiveness that started late last year. And then obviously the last bar there is, I think, is going to be PPP.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I don't know how forgiven, I guess, yeah, forgiven loans are taken off the books, right? They're forgiven. But my feeling on this, and I'll ask the two of you to weigh in, is this is transformative. I don't see us going back to below 10% in SBA lending. I think SBA has changed as an agency. The consumer, being the small business borrower, is now, all those old barriers in terms of getting an SBA loan are gone. A lot of people have had, and a lot of lenders have had this pretty positive experience with PPP, as well as all the upcoming changes. And we're not even talking about no guarantee fees and, higher guarantee fees, no loan fees, and the streamlining of refinances. So the agency continues to make these programs more borrower and lender friendly.
Yep. A lot of the old attitudes about SBA, I think, have made
Yeah, I think this is changed. And there we go. Last poll question. Balances on new small business loans increased by what percentage in the first quarter? We'll give you a hint. It was at least 100%. Again, PPP is included in this. 444%, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, that I would have guessed 200% too. I would have been in that crowd. I mean, these numbers are staggering, Chris, and we're in the moment. Sometimes it's difficult to put it in the historical context or context, but these are huge numbers. These are huge changes, and these are creating real jobs.
Absolutely. It's funny you say these are so staggering, these numbers to put in context. I can remember most of the time during PPP telling my team, don't fixate on the numbers because we're numbers people. And of course, they're looking at the percentage increase. I said, no. Just focus on the process. Don't focus on the outcome, or you're gonna have analysis paralysis. You're just gonna be numb to what's going on, and obviously that wouldn't be healthy either. But yeah, the numbers are crazy. Everybody knows SBA, like I've said many times on the show, SBA really stepped up quite a bit. Yes, they stubbed their toe occasionally, as one would expect with this much pressure and this much responsibility on the agency, but they really are a different agency now. The old chief credit officer who grumbles about how he can't stand the SBA because they denied a guarantee of his 25 years ago. That guy's not going to be in the banking industry here in the next few years. And SBA's changed dramatically since that one time where he thinks he got burned. So I think you're going to see more and more SBA adoption going forward, and that's a good thing, assuming the agency can handle it. They have also not gotten a lot of the funding they've needed over the last couple decades, and that caused them some problems from a technological standpoint early in PPP too.
What's interesting, Chris, is we should call it something, the Coleman Index or whatever, but when we were rocking and rolling, we were getting 1 or 2 policy notices a day.
Yes.
June, how many did we get, Joseph? Handful at that?
It's been very quiet. Yeah, we've been trying to get as much information out of the agency, but it's very slow, and I think they've had some time to reflect as PPP ended, and then the restaurant took over, and so it's been very quiet. So
another source of great information is the SBA Office of Advocacy. Put up the chart. Can we blow that chart up, Michael?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll do it right now.
For those of us with eyesight. What's interesting about this chart, the squiggly line is the lending index, which is the amount of loans, so we understand that. But my concern and Lance's concern is that blue line at the end, and there's an uptick in something called a default rate. And we read about moratoriums dropping off. We read about, eviction moratoriums. Now PPP is stopped. These sources of easy money are not there. And now we're getting into a interesting time in terms of our portfolios, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little surprised it's turned up as much as it has because, again, I think the economy is doing better than perhaps we give credit for. I'm most concerned
That's
as
the almost loan payments. That's one reason
yeah.
it was.
Well, I understand that, and I think we're going to be okay through 21 and probably 22. I'm mostly concerned about 2023, what that's going to look like, particularly if the economy starts to cool off by then. So I think you'll definitely see higher defaults by that point.
And keeping it in perspective, compare that blue line in 2010. I don't know what that index means other than that's base was zero. I don't have but you can see 6% default rates. Here we're at about 3. I don't see us going back up that high. But the good news is if you take the recession of 2010, we did come out of that fairly quickly. And I'm not in the prediction business, but everything I do read says we're going to be rocking and rolling, and we may be rocking and rolling too much in terms of economy. I know, Chris, I'm sure every time I go out now, I'm talking to people, I'm talking about supply chain. I can't tell you that I had 4 or 5 conversations over the weekend with people about supply chain. They're not getting inventory. They're not getting it. There's logistics jam. There's chip issues. I guess the Suez Canal was issues.
Yep.
But logistically, they can't keep up with consumer demand, which is both, it's a double-edged sword. Primarily good, just as long as we keep inflation under control.
Well, and same with hiring too. You have the same issue. There's people trying to hire, and I think as you see more and more states come off the extra unemployment benefits, and that ends in September, I think you're going to see a huge hiring surge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I think what's interesting about this default rate, real quick, is back in 2010, we've talked about this before many times. I mean, that was more of a recovery efforts dedicated towards large corporations. It wasn't to small business. And so what I'm pointing out here is that you have such a smaller default rate here in this recession, which was pandemic induced, because the focus was on the small business sector, not as much on the large corporations. And I think that's indicative here of how low the default rate for the most part stayed.
Yeah, and again, we've had one bank failure, unlike 10 years ago where we had
Hundreds every year.
I'm going to say 100 bank failures. That's
a year in 2008, 2009, 2000.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good number. Very good. Let's see. What else we got here, Joseph?
That is it for the content. It's just to reiterate, this is, I think Chris pointed out that those safeguards have been taken away, the payments for SBA, but the economy is up, so that's why this default number is so low. So I agree.
Well, we are still waiting for guidance. Lance is hinting stuff's going to be happening by the 15th. And this is the 6th, so hopefully some stuff will start dropping this week. We're expecting guidance on more forgiveness, streamlining. Sure. Don't expect any additional funding, but we will follow that story very much. And also, we're obviously going to be following the what's happening in servicing portfolio and how SBA is going to be handling that. But the big push is where are we at? We have now 80% of PPP1 forgiven, Chris. I should have that at my fingertips, or maybe Delaney.
That sounds about right. I think it's probably in that ballpark. Yeah.
And then I know the push I assume for you now is PP2. Or when do you have the push for PPP2 draws?
Probably later this month. We're still trying to finish up all of our 2020.
I understand that, but are you getting pressure from SBA on that yet, or is it usually?
No, because I think SBA's got some things that are coming out that, as Lance has hinted at, that it'll make it a little bit easier, I suspect.
So hopefully we have, anyway, so that's happening. Hey, we're going to be starting, we're going to have a meet and greet on Thursday on loan training. And Lance did a great job on that, so we're looking forward to that. And tomorrow we will announce our slate of webinars. That's it. Chris, thank you so much. Joseph, good to see you. Tanned and
welcome back.
Back and roll. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Take care.